You're watching Capitol View, Sunday morning talk focused on the political scene in Arkansas.
Welcome back to the program. Joining me now, Representative Ashley Hudson, Democrat of Little Rock, Sam Watson, who is with Arkansans for Limited Government, among the many other hats that he wears, but that's the one you're wearing today. Welcome to both of you. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Let's talk about what is named the Arkansas Abortion Amendment. Sam, I will come to you first. Just in a nutshell, what does this amendment do?
Yeah, of course. So this would prevent the government from restricting or limiting abortion up to 18 weeks after fertilization. And then after that 18-week mark, it provides for exceptions for rape and incest victims, fatal fetal anomalies, and to protect the life and physical health of the mother.
Ashley, as you well know from your legislative colleagues, particularly on the other side of the aisle, Arkansas brag that Arkansas is the most pro-life state in the union. This would obviously reverse that. Tell me why we need this amendment.
We hear a lot from my colleagues on the other side of the aisle about the fact that we are the #1 most pro-life state, but we don't hear enough about the fact that we're also the #1 state for maternal mortality, that we have one of the highest rates of teen pregnancy, that we have a number of women who have pre-existing health conditions that would make it dangerous for them to have children, and that we have babies being born with fatal fetal abnormalities and being born in pain. We don't talk about any of those things, and the reason that we don't talk about them is because they're inconvenient truths. These are the types of issues that are important to women on both sides of the aisle. It affects me, it affects my daughters, it affects my friends, and women feel that very deeply. So there's a real disconnect right now, I think, between what we're doing at the Capitol and what I'm hearing from constituents when they call and ask me questions.
This is not too different from what we've seen other states try and be successful at, quite frankly. There's been a number of reproductive rights, abortion, however you want to kind of frame up the debate. These measures have passed in other states. Kansas is one that I point to that's particularly interesting because of its proximity to Arkansas politics in some respects. Sam, when you guys were putting this amendment together, what was the thought process that went into it to frame it like you framed it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we started these discussions immediately after Dobbs came down. We knew exactly what that decision would mean for Arkansan women. And so since that decision has been handed down, we've really discussed carefully with our medical providers and legal providers to see what we think can get passed and what would protect the highest number of Arkansan women. So it's really been a long process of these back and forth decisions with the medical and legal experts, as well as polling and discussions with everyday Arkansans around the state to see what kind of protections they'd like to see. This is an amendment for Arkansans put forth by Arkansans.
With the politics of it, like you've seen in the state of Arkansas, but what you've seen in other states happen too, what do you expect to happen, Ashley, in terms of potential turnout, enthusiasm for and against this measure?
We've seen in the past couple of cycles, 2020 and then 2022, that there has been a real interest in candidates who are women and issues that affect women, and that goes through to Arkansas as well. But the other thing that I think that we can't forget is that Arkansans are famously independent, and we are a state that
infamously independent.
Infamously, that's true.
A great phrase.
But we legalized marijuana in one of the most conservative states in the country. We raised minimum wage, and we did that all through ballot initiatives. And so there's a real difference between what the people of Arkansas say that they want and what the people at the Capitol say they want. And so I welcome the opportunity for the people of Arkansas to weigh in on this.
The Attorney General made some changes to the language in this, in particular the popular name here. It was originally, I think, the Arkansas Reproductive Health Care Amendment. He's changed it to the Arkansas Abortion Amendment. Does that affect or impact, do you think, the politics of this?
I don't think so. We strongly believe, based on that guidance from medical professionals, that abortion is healthcare, is reproductive healthcare, and it has downstream effects on reproductive healthcare as well. And studies have shown that in states with a total or near total abortion ban, they are bleeding OBGYNs like crazy. Doctors leaving because they're afraid to practice. They're afraid that they'll have to break their oaths to do no harm. And so, these total abortion bans really do have these downstream effects. And so this really is about reproductive health care. So no, I don't really think it'll affect the politics of it much at all. I think it's all one and the same.
There is a report from the Journal of American Medicine that came out, as fate would have it, like in the last week or something. It really points to 14 states that have abortion bans and what has happened post the Dobbs decision, which is really the big test for all this. These are some numbers that jumped out with me. Over 519,000 rapes have occurred in 14 states, and over 60,000 rape pregnancies in those just in 14 states. I'll have to say I'm alarmed at the number of rapes and the number of rape pregnancies from this, and the exception is obviously in there for rape.
Sure. Well, and what's more alarming, and what I discovered when I started digging behind the numbers, is that University of Texas did a study a few years ago. Rapes are notoriously underreported, and about only 10% of actual rapes are reported. So if you extrapolate that the numbers that you're talking about are only 10% of the rapes that actually occurred, you're talking about huge numbers. So we've got a real.
I think 519,000 is a huge number, to be
and
honest
this is,
with you.
yeah, but I mean, we're talking about, just numbers that are almost incomprehensible. We've got a real problem when we talk about violence against women and children. And in Arkansas in particular, because they divided in that study between states that had exceptions and states that don't have exceptions that allow women to seek abortions in the case of rape and incest. In Arkansas, there's not a meaningful exception for women or children to seek an abortion in the case of rape or incest. And so that means that right now the public policy of the state is that a 10 or 11 or 12-year-old girl is forced to carry pregnancy to term. And that's the reality that we live in when we talk about the number of rapes that are occurring in Arkansas, which is huge, but also this number of rapes and incestuous relationships and sexual assaults of small children that are happening that are also resulting in pregnancies.
I'm going to give both of you a chance to tackle this next question here, and Sam, I'll have you come first. You're obviously going to have some political opposition to this. You could have pared back this proposal a little bit more, like you could have left 18-week abortion ban out and just gone with rape and incest. Jerry Cox from the Family Council, who will be one of the biggest opponents of this, says this is a radical amendment legalizing abortion in a way that's never been seen before, erases the laws that are on the books. How do you combat that perception? And I mean, could you have made this not as comprehensive as you did?
I don't think so. I think we're really, again, trying to protect Arkansan women and girls. We've had some pushback from people like Mr. Cox about that 18-week mark, that this is too far. But one of the most significant anatomy scans happens at 16 weeks, and so that's really not a lot of time to give women the chance to make those choices with them and their families and their providers. And so that's why we went with the 18-week mark, is that we're really trying to give women time to make the decisions that are best for them and their families after having those medical checkups and giving them time to discuss with their doctors and families about what's best for them.
How do you think that conversation goes?
No one asked me when they were drafting this amendment, but I do think that, I think that the 18 weeks is probably where there's going to be the most pushback. Sam's absolutely right that there is a big anatomy scan somewhere between 16 and 18 weeks. But what we see really with abortions when you look at statistics is the vast majority of them are happening somewhere between 10 and 12 weeks. The vast majority. And when we talk about the ones that are happening at 16, 17, 18 weeks, that is a wanted pregnancy. Almost always, and that is a very significant and serious situation in which we as legislators and we as the public really shouldn't be dictating what a physician's practice is going to be when they are counseling their patient and delivering the hardest news they'll probably ever hear.
Yeah, sure we'll have the other side on to talk about this if you guys qualify for the ballot, because I had you on this week because the AG signed off on this important step to allow you to collect signatures. What's next in the process?
Yeah, so we've already begun collecting signatures. We have our first rally, our mass signature collection event this weekend, Sunday, in the Fayetteville Town Center at 2 p.m. And we'll continue to hold rallies around the state and get our ground game going and send those volunteers out to begin collecting signatures from registered Arkansans across the state.
All right, it's to be a high hurdle though to do that. So what do you make of the chance? Do you think that's going to give got about 30 seconds left? Do you think that gives a pretty good indication, the number of signatures that get collected?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. It's just like when candidates collect signatures to run for office. It shows whether there's any enthusiasm, and so I think that the signature collection is going to be a vital part of their campaign. I wish them luck.
All right. Ashley, Sam, thank you both very much for being here. Appreciate you. So we'll see where it goes, and we'll have you back if that comes on, maybe for a debate. How about that with the other side on this?
We're ready.
All right. We're back with more right after this.